Welcome back. Now it's time for Forum Daily's weekly market update with Catherine Murray, host of The Buck Stops Here. Take it away, Catherine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to your weekly market recap. I am Catherine Murray. Well, big news in the North American equity markets today. The S&P 500 breached that 5,000 mark for the first time in history. So in other words, the momentum to the upside continues in the market despite some of the naysayers. We'll get to that in just a second. But bottom line, as we look at the U.S. markets, and we'll get to the Canadian markets in just a moment, but those U.S. markets are on track for big weekly gains. What we're seeing behind this strength is momentum behind growth stocks, and particularly the tech stocks as well. NVIDIA, for one, continues to climb higher, up by about 3% today on reports that they are looking to create a new segment within the company that will focus on custom chips for their customers. So again, some continued new news and momentum behind the NVIDIA trade, which has been a huge winner in 2023 and also into 2024. In terms of other areas that we're keeping our eyes on, of course, investors need to look at what the earnings reports are and what the company managements are saying. And bottom line, it is actually somewhat mixed, but nonetheless, we are seeing more beats than not, and that also is adding to this positive narrative within the marketplace. Importantly as well, in terms of the news this week, the December CPI revision was revised downward. This is important as it relates to the Fed's view and desire to continue to focus on that lower inflation mark as they look at their Fed policy. So that probably is what gave the market a little bit more of a boost today. So important as we look at the inflation data, and be aware that January CPI number will come out next week. So a lot to watch there. In terms of some of the company specific stocks that we're keeping our eyes on, Pepsi did cut their guidance. That is weighing on their stock today. Expedia within the travel segment, they're down by about 17%. The stock price, that is. The company provided light fourth quarter guidance on their bookings. So that is certainly weighing on the company today. Lululemon was downgraded to underperform, so a little bit of pressure on that stock as well. But bottom line, as we look at those U.S. markets and why we continue to see this upward momentum, really for the big 6 or 7 tech stocks in particular, is the view that we have a resilient U.S. economy. Shifting over to the Canadian economy, big news here in Canada as it relates to the jobs numbers. A big beat, up by 37,000 jobs that were created versus 15,000 expected. Unemployment rate did dip to 5.7%. Interestingly as well, what will this mean for the Bank of Canada if in fact the economy is somewhat strong or on the stronger side versus expectations? What will they do at their next meeting? We did learn from the BOC minutes. Remember, getting minutes from the BOC like we get with the Fed is somewhat new, but we're going to keep our eyes on it for sure. And those minutes did discuss the fact that not many members actually want to be too early in lowering rates. So in other words, we're probably going to stand pat at this current level, barring other economic indicators that would change or shift that. Away from that, as we actually take a look at the TSX, it is little changed on the day following a lower session on Thursday. Canadian dollar is lower versus the US dollar. We're seeing a little bit of an uptick in the price of WTI or crude, and Bitcoin is also up by about 3 to 4% today. As we look at the earnings picture in Canada, we did see a couple of companies report. Canaccord, for one, that stock's actually up by 8% today following their earnings results, and also TD upgrading the stock. TELUS is up by about 2.5%. Magna's results did come in less than expected, sending that stock down by 7%. Enbridge, their results somewhat in line. And BCE, I think this is getting a lot of press, of course. Their results did come in with a slight beat. They did increase the dividend, but they also cut 9% of their workforce. A lot going on in the marketplace, particularly with respect to the earnings results in Canada. That is now in full steam, so a lot more to come next week. We'll leave it there. Back to you.